Milwaukee County Sheriff David A. Clarke Jr., a vocal supporter of President Donald Trump's law and order platform who faced repeated allegations inmates were mistreated in his jails, abruptly resigned on Thursday, issuing a terse, one-sentence letter and offering no explanation for his decision. Clarke's resignation, which comes more than a year before his fourth term as sheriff is scheduled to expire, will take effect at midnight, Milwaukee County Clerk George L. Christensen told The Washington Post. It remains unclear why the sheriff is leaving his job, a move he's characterized as his retirement. A longtime advisor, Craig Peterson, told the Post that Clarke is unlikely to make any public comments until next week. Asked if the lifelong Milwaukee resident who has served as sheriff since 2002 is considering a potential geographic relocation, Peterson would say only, "Anything's a potential." According to a person close to Clarke, he is likely to join an outside group that supports the president's agenda. An announcement is likely as early as next week. A second person familiar with the matter said that Clarke was not expected to join the Trump administration. Both persons spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private conversations. In June, Clarke withdrew his name from consideration for an assistant secretary position at the Department of Homeland Security. At the time, Peterson said, "Sheriff Clarke is 100% committed to the success of President Trump and believes his skills could be better utilized to promote the president's agenda in a more aggressive role." Christensen declined to comment on the contents of Clarke's resignation letter or any rationale the sheriff provided for his decision to leave the post. The resignation came with no advance notice, Christensen said, adding he will next alert Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, R., who will decide on the appointment of a replacement. A Democrat whose rhetoric and conservative political base more closely align with the Republican Party, Clarke has in recent years become a regular commentator on Fox News and used the platform to criticize President Barack Obama and assail many of his policies. Clarke has compared the Black Lives Matter protest movement, which aims to counter anti-black racism, to the Ku Klux Klan, suggesting it would team with the Islamic State to overthrow the federal government. He labeled anti-Trump demonstrators as anarchists, and said African Americans sell drugs because they're uneducated, they're lazy, and they're morally bankrupt. His 15-year tenure as sheriff has also been a source of controversy. At least 4 people died in the Milwaukee County Jail between April 2015 and November 2016, including a newborn baby whose birth occurred unbeknown to Clarke's staff. In another case, his staff was accused of withholding water from an inmate, who eventually died, for 1 week. In January, a jury awarded $6.7 million to a woman who said she was repeatedly raped by guards at the Milwaukee County Jail. He and his staff are the subject of numerous other lawsuits alleging abuse and mistreatment. While Clarke was under consideration for the Homeland Security job, reports surfaced that he had plagiarized large portions of his master's thesis. He disputed those claims and called the CNN reporter who broke the story a sleazebag. The sheriff emerged as one of Trump's most visible and enthusiastic supporters during last year's campaign, delivering a much-discussed address at the Republican National Convention. Addressing the Republican crowd in Cleveland, Ohio, he declared, "Blue Lives Matter in America," a pointed response to growing criticism, throughout the nation, about law enforcement's use of deadly force. And Clarke made clear his feeling that the threats facing his officers and others have become only more extreme. In the convention speech, he praised a Baltimore court's decision to acquit one officer implicated in the death of a man, Freddie Gray, who suffered severe spinal injuries while in police custody. Clarke was discussed as a potential Homeland Security Secretary early in the Trump administration's transition, but those close to the president-elect worried that various scandals and a host of controversial statements would impede the sheriff's ability to win Senate confirmation. On Thursday, Clarke attended the Fraternal Order of Police National Convention in Nashville, Tennessee, posing for photos alongside admirers and reminding his 768,000 Twitter followers that the organization backed Trump during last year's election. The sheriff's Twitter feed has remained quiet since news of his resignation broke, however. His last tweet, published about an hour before the county clerk's office received Clarke's letter, was a promotion for his book, Cop Under Fire. Trump hailed the book and its author in a tweet Sunday. Peterson said Clarke wished to let the Milwaukee community know he appreciates the support it's shown for high